Welcome back to the Blog and Dirty podcast here with Fansided. I'm joined today by Atlanta Falcons center Drew Dalman on behalf of Coolmitt. Drew, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, before we get into Coolmitt here, I want to ask you, what was it like last week when we found out that Matthew Judon was coming over from the Patriots and Justin Simmons is joining, from the Broncos? I know you play on the other side of a ball, but having two players of that caliber on defense, that had to make everybody in Flowery Branch really excited.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's probably my fault. I stick my head pretty deep in the sand during training camp, so I like really had no idea any of it was going on. And then obviously, news broke and people were talking about it. And yeah, as you mentioned, I think anytime you add players like that, it's exciting to see, like what the role is going to be and all those different kind of things and how it's going to move the needle for the team. So yeah, I think everybody's excited and happy about it, and obviously our number one goal is just to improve and be the best football team we can. So if those guys help, that's something we're really happy about.
Definitely, they're joining the defense with Jesse Bates the third, AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett. Certainly going to make things a little bit easier for your side of the ball on offense. But you've got a new guy to snap the ball to there in Kirk Cousins. What's it been like working with him, getting to know him, and having him be a part of this team?
Yeah, been feeling super fortunate to be able to work with a guy like Kirk, someone who has that much experience. I love the way he approaches practice and preparation and all those things. So I feel like I find myself asking him a lot of questions and kind of learning from his process and seeing what he does super well and how I can incorporate that kind of into my own preparation. Uh, so that's been awesome. And then just, as a player and a teammate, he's incredible. People know that. So it's been great so far. Yeah, I think we have very clear expectations for, what we need to do to improve every day. And then we just go out there and see if we can execute them. And if we can't, then we go back and fix those mistakes and then improve the next day. So it's been a pleasure working with them.
Yeah, all of Dirty Bird Nation is really excited about having him be a part of this team. And a lot of people are really buzzing about the rookie, Michael Penix Jr. He's really talented. What's it been like getting to know him? I know you guys, I don't know if you were in the Pac-12 at the same time, but he also started in that conference as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, like his work ethic and how he's approached practice has been awesome. And he's been a good teammate. So all those kinds of boxes are being checked, and that's been a pleasure to work with him on that. Um, but yeah, I think everybody's excited, and the more talent and good players you have on the team, you're never upset about it. Uh, so yeah, I think it's been great.
Right. Yes, it's always better to have more talent than less talent. But before I get into the next question, I want to ask a question about Coolmitt. I want to know how you got connected with them, and kind of can you explain the technology, because it's in layman's terms. I know you're a really smart dude. You went to Stanford, so maybe you can try to explain like what's going on there and how
Mhm.
it's helped you guys in practice and everything.
Yeah. So some, I guess, as far as I'll start with how I got involved with it and
Right.
how I learned, and then kind of work my way down. But yeah, some early prototypes of like their kind of methodology were being used at Stanford while I was there. So messed around with that, used that, got familiar a little bit, and then it kind of exited my mind as I left for the NFL and those things. And then I experienced my first training camp in Atlanta and the heat that comes with that. And I kind of went back to the drawing board in the off season, was like, okay, what can I do to help myself out here? And so I revisited that. And I was fortunate enough to meet with the professor at Stanford who has done a lot of the research for it. And then that led me down this whole long chain of events that kind of got me with Coolmitt and got to use their product and all those things. And so that's led me to now. And I think in essence, I would explain Coolmitt as your muscles kind of have a temperature limit in which they want to work. So you can reach that temperature limit by, working out really hard, playing football really hard, or being in a really hot environment, or both at the same time. So you're practicing as hard as you can. You're in the 90-degree humid Atlanta heat. Those muscles are going to get to those critical temperatures pretty quickly. And Coolmitt takes advantage of several areas on your body that are really key for cooling. So the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and the upper part of the face are locations where your body is particularly effective at exchanging heat from. And so the Coolmitt goes on your hand and basically cools you down through that kind of mechanism that your body already does, but just speeds up the whole process. And so it can bring your core temperature down. And with that, like your heart rate comes down and all those things. And as we talked about, the temperature of the muscle being a large limiter, it can lower that temperature. And so you can exert for longer, you can train for longer, those kinds of things. So it's played a big role in my last couple off seasons in training for the heat. And then once I'm out here, sometimes, I'll be able to use it during practice, sometimes not, but it kind of just depends on the tempo and the cadence of practice. But it's been a huge asset. It's been really effective.
Yeah, sir. I feel that like I'm from here, and I'm 34 years old. It's still incredibly hot. You don't quite get
Yeah.
used to it, but like from what I was looking at, like the data, it allows you to like delay your fatigue a little bit, get a few more reps in, get a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, and everything. So yeah, you did a really good job of explaining that to me, and as well as probably to our viewers and listeners here. But I'm going to move on to this next question. Coach Raheem Morris comes in. I know he had been here from 2015 to 2020. It seems like he's really re-energized the entire team and organization. It feels like it's going to work with him. What's it been like getting to know him over the last few months?
Hmm. Yeah, he's been great. Obviously, some of the more veteran players like Jake and Chris and Caleb and all those guys, they know him from his first stint, but I only know him from this stint. But yeah, he brings a ton of energy, brings a really nice vision for us to all get behind as a team and to work every day. And so that's been great. And along with him, the other staff members have been great. I feel like I've had an opportunity to learn from a lot of them and learn from their expertise. So it's yeah, it does feel good, and all those coaches are doing a great job.
For sure. Yeah. I was trying to like connect the dots there. It seems like, Jake and Caleb were like, and Chris, like, oh, this guy's really good. So it probably made it easier to get to know him and everything. But yeah, it seems like he and Terry have a pretty good partnership there, and everybody is kind of moving in the same direction, which makes us as fans really exciting for what the season is to come.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I got a few more questions here. Going to pull up my notes real quick. This could be fun. As the starting center for the Atlanta Falcons, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of all-time centers? Like, who are people you looked up to learning to play offensive line? I know your dad played for the Niners back in the 90s and everything like that, but who are some of your favorite offensive linemen that play your position?
Hmm. Yeah, good question. Yeah, obviously my dad's up there. That's
Oh
like,
yeah,
cop out answer. But yeah, grew up obviously loved watching any film I could get of him, and looked up to him, and that's a lot of the reason why I learned to love football. Um, and then I think maybe some ones that would be more surprising. I was a massive Stanford football fan growing up.
hmm
So Chase Beeler was a center at Stanford for a lot of those years with Andrew Luck, where they had great seasons. And so I really looked up to him and watched a lot of his film and enjoyed that. And then another Stanford O lineman, David DeCastro, obviously played for the Steelers for a number of years and was a great pro. Same kind of thing. Admired his game, and then kind of had some of the backstory to his work ethic just from the stories at Stanford. So that was always really inspiring as well. And then yeah, just I mean, there's a laundry list of excellent centers and across the NFL. One of the ones that's kind of entered my mind in the last few years that our offensive line coach Dwayne Ledford told me about was Tom Nalen. He was a center for the Broncos a number of years ago, and they were excellent at running wide zone, and so that was kind of someone that he directed me towards that I could watch and try to learn from and all those things. But yeah, I mean every starting like great center out there, I feel like there's something I can learn from all of them. So I feel like I've kind of tried to mishmash and get some information for everybody.
But yeah, I definitely remember Tom Nalen with the Broncos with like Mark Schlereth and John Elway and everything. Unfortunately, cost the Falcons a Super Bowl when I was really little, but those teams were fantastic. I've got two more questions for you today, Drew. Um, as you've been like watching in training camp, just around practice, is there any player you kind of feel like, oh, he's gonna have a really good year on either side of the ball? Like, who's your pick to click for the 24 Atlanta Falcons?
Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is. I feel like I don't usually think about those kinds of things, so I'm not sure I have a
Right.
great answer for you. Um, but yeah, like I mean, there's a ton of guys that are doing the right things, working hard every day, and putting themselves in positions to succeed. So yeah, I mean, I could cop out and say Jake Matthews, like for the 11th year in a row, 11th or 12th year in a row, he's going to have an excellent season. So, Chris Lindstrom, Caleb, all those guys, like I would love for all of them to just do an incredible job, and they're putting in the work necessary to be that. So,
One more question before the last one. Just the offensive line stuff. I don't think Jake Matthews gets the credit he deserves. Obviously, his dad played in the league. His dad's one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time. Comes from a fantastic football family. But yeah, he and Grady have been like pillars of this organization for over a decade now. What does he mean to, the Falcons? You being a player here. Like, what's he meant to be as a teammate?
yeah, I mean, yeah, you said it. Jake has been like his production and consistency, like kind of leaves me dumbstruck at times.
Yeah.
Just like, a decade of excellent quality play. Um, and continuing. And so he, in the O line room, the leader, the example, he just like his production is, like what we all kind of aim for. And so he does a great job in that role. And then just as a professional, just so consistent, comes to work every day. And that's like, in my mind, one of the most admirable characteristics because the NFL is so volatile and that it can, it really lends itself to kind of up and down production and then emotional up and downs. And he just is very steadfast and his production remains consistent. So, like, yeah, I think he's the ultimate role model for a lot of us.
Yeah, he's been so much fun to watch and everything. One last question. I know you were talking about Stanford earlier. I know you're really excited about the Cardinal and everything. My high school teammate, actually, I played like lacrosse and baseball with, went to Stanford. Chase Thomas, fantastic
Oh,
pass
yeah,
rusher back in the, yeah, great dude.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, way better at lacrosse than I was, way better at football than I was. A little bit better at baseball, but not by much. But it's an exciting time for Stanford Cardinal football, but what are your thoughts about them and Cal going to the ACC? I know it's really strange and everything. It's a really weird time for the sport, but you got to be excited, but at the same time, I just hate that the Pac-12 had to end that way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, as a childhood fan, I grew up watching that conference when it was the Pac-10 and Pac-12 and all that. So there's some amount of nostalgia for that I will miss. But yeah, I'm excited for the team. The primary thing I think about is just how much travel it is, which is
Yeah.
like I'm sure that's discussed plenty, so we don't need to get into that. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't think it's on the schedule this year, but I'm really looking forward to when they play at Georgia Tech, so I can get down there and watch a game, which will be interesting, and there'll be a lot of fun matchups that'll come from it. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it could be a fun rivalry there with Georgia Tech. Clemson's not that far away either. That could be something fun you could have with like Grady or AJ with like what happens between Stanford and Clemson. That could be a lot of fun. But
Yeah,
yes, Drew Dalman, Atlanta Falcons center, working on behalf of Coolmitt. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy this season, and we wish you the absolute best.
thank you very much. I appreciate your time.